back. Elf Kitchen is back. So right now I just have 2 Roma tomatoes and 1 yellow onion. I'm going to rough chop the Roma tomatoes to make a stew for the chicken tacos. I already have a pan lined with a little bit of oil, not too much. I'm going to let it simmer just a tiny bit, let it get hot, and then what we're going to do, so we're going to finish chopping our tomatoes, and you want them you don't want them too thick, but you don't want them too thin either, because if they're too thin, when you're cooking them, they're going to get soggy right away, and they'll kind of just evaporate into nothing. So you want them about this big. That's why Roma tomatoes are so good to use for this type of recipe. If you're just stewing the tomatoes and the onions, you don't want super huge pieces, but you want them good size. And the bigger tomatoes, it'll kind of just, you kind of have to eyeball it if you're doing it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tomatoes, and I have my pan at medium heat. It's at medium-high heat. Just going to take my tomatoes and toss them in there, let them get nice and warm. Then I'm just going to take my onion. I'm going to cut it in about a quarter because I don't want too much. I'm only making enough for me and my husband right now, and I just want to show you guys basically how I make them, or how I make them. This recipe I learned from my father, my stepfather, Nelson Castillo. He grew up, just like me, he grew up around food. His parents owned a restaurant, so he learned a lot of that stuff. He picked it all up, and he taught me a lot. Over the years, he's been in my life for about 11 or 12 years, and throughout the years, he's taught me so much. A lot of the stuff, actually, that I cook is from him, honestly, like being taught, not even being taught, honestly, just watching. I watch. I love that. That's one thing. I've never really been like shown how to cook. I watch and I see how people do it, and I learn that way. So again, the rough chop for the onion are going to be about this big. You don't want them too big. Sometimes I make them bigger, but in this case, I'm going to make them a little bit smaller than I usually do, and just throw them in with the tomato. And what we're going to do, which I'll show you right now, we are going to toss them in with the tomato, and we are going to start, we will start, sorry, my hair's going to be cut off. Trying to adjust. Okay, well, anyway, so, oh, there we go, perfect, hopefully it stays. So, just, as you can see, I have the tomatoes and the onions in here. I am going to grab one of my spatulas and just kind of move them around, get the onions a little separated. You don't want them, they're obviously going to separate as you continue to cook them. And one thing I learned is that high heat isn't always the best. I have them on medium right now. That's one of the reasons why I love having a gas burner, a gas oven, I should say, a stove oven, whatever, is because I can adjust the heat and it kind of works to my advantage. Whereas with an electric stove, you can do that, but at the same time, it's not always as reliable. Anyway, besides all that, I'm going to add to this some, if I can find it, some black pepper. So black pepper I have right here, and some garlic powder. Never go wrong with a little bit of garlic, even if it's just the powder. Fresh stuff is always the best, but in this case, like I said, it's just kind of something to tide my husband over, and myself, honestly, till we get to eat dinner. So, yeah, so I'm just letting these stew. Maybe if they're kind of cooking a little faster than you'd like, maybe lower the flame a little bit more. And I'm going to grab my chicken. Okay, so maneuver a little bit here. So I'm going to have my chicken right here. It's just a bunch of shredded chicken legs actually, and I only seasoned this with garlic powder. I actually didn't put any salt whatsoever. So I'm going to, if I can find my salt. Oh well, that's what I have a shaker on hand for. So, oh, wrong one. Okay, so just a little bit of salt, not too much, being that it's not a super huge portion. And it's getting into a nice little consistency, if you guys can see it. It smells amazing on this side, let me tell you. You're going to add your chicken, if it wants to come out. Okay, so you're going to add the chicken like so, and it has congealed a little bit on the bottom, so I'm going to break it up, and I probably should have used my bigger pan for this, but it's okay. We are going to make do. And you kind of just stir it around and you let it go. And then once it starts to cook, you're going to see your chicken shred a lot more. And yeah, so I'm just going to let it go, and I'm going to continue to stir it together and get it going, and then I will show you guys the end result. Alright? Or what it should look like, at least. Alright, thanks for watching, guys, with Elle's Kitchen.